Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Talent and Strategy Show here on the Success is a Choice Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler, and our co-host, as normal, is Ruston Pierce, the president of consulting at Affinity Recruiting and Consulting. Ruston, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on when you're watching this show.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Hey, we're doing fine. And our star, our special guest today, Laura DiBenedetto. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing great. Laura is she's an entrepreneur, business owner. She's won tons of awards for being all that in a bag of chips. And she started a multiple different companies. She's also the author of The 6 Habits. She's a very happy person. She's a great person. Was on our podcast, Success is a Choice podcast, a while ago. You can check that out at jamybechler.com/Laura D. Laura D/Laura D. So you can check that out. But she also is a TEDx speaker, and she lives in the great state of Florida. So Laura, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here again.
Awesome.
Spend time with you. This is good.
Yeah, awesome. If you want to hear her story or more about her story, check out jamybechler.com/Laura D, jamybechler.com/Laura D. We're going to get into more of the business aspect. And when she was on the podcast before, we talked more about her book, The 6 Habits. We talked more about happiness, how to have a happy life, a fulfilling life. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about business. But before we get into the nitty gritty, Laura, give us kind of a 30,000 foot view. I labeled you. I gave you a few labels there, but talk to us a little bit about your journey, where you're at today, and how'd you get here?
All right. Well, today I am working on a couple different businesses, and I'm exiting one that I started an achingly long period of time ago. We can talk about arthritis in the same sentence as that. Let's put it that way. It's been a while. I'm selling part of the company off, which is really exciting / terrifying. The book is doing a lot of good for people, and it's really helping people to change a lot in their lives. People are getting wealthier, happier, leaving that marriage they needed to just end because it was toxic and hateful, and also finding love again. It's exciting. And then I decided to partner with my husband to create another company because apparently I'm allergic to sitting still. And we make ammunition. And that is not what I ever thought I'd be doing. But, certain things just change you as a person, and also the people you welcome into your life, like my husband, change you as a person. So here I am, and I'm advocating for people's freedom and liberty, and just on an empowerment mission. So I can still empower your noggin with my book, which is cool. And now I can empower you to live a nice sovereign life and, go hang out off the grid somewhere and just, be sovereign.
So, Laura, you've started several different businesses in very different industries. I'm curious, as you have done that, have you noticed any consistency in planning and strategy? And do you have a systematic approach to how you decide to start a business?
Somewhat. There's always a research component before I do anything. I've actually started 7 companies. Only 3 of them have endured by my choice. I like starting stuff. I don't always like continuing with stuff, and I have to really love it to want to continue with it. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
I have ADHD, and for whatever that is, it's good and bad. But if it can't hold my attention or sustain it past a period of difficulty, I'm just going to crush it. I started a staffing company because I was super excited to help people. And then I was like, wow, people suck. I don't want to do this. So I closed it. And I started pursuing funding for a really upscale, like European bakery cafe. And then I found that people were horrible then, just too many Karens. I'm like, no, I'm not here to be abused. People are just not grateful for anything. Excuse me, this is the wrong temperature on my latte. You know what? I'm not doing this. So I killed that one. But the process always begins with research. The only time it didn't was with my first company. I was 19. The idea of research, that's too adult. No way. That makes sense. I hate that. So now I do research, I do planning, I do viability studies. I want to make sure that there's a market for it. And also that I care enough. If I can't even get past the research stage, then I shouldn't do it because I don't have the ability to have the sustained interest.
It's funny you mentioned the staffing thing. So I'm the president of consulting, but we have another side of our company that's recruiting and staffing, and we have a special file. We use a collaboration software, and when we come across those really special resumes, we have a special file that we slide those in.
Does it look like a trash can?
No, we keep them because everybody every once in a while needs a comedic moment. They need an opportunity.
Oh, the hell no file.
So we have our file of crazy that we hang on to forever.
That's hilarious.
Just for when we need it.
All right. We have something in common I did not expect.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, this is a great time to mention that this show is made possible by our friends over at Affinity Recruiting and Consulting. Check out all their services at affinitytoday.com. So, Laura.
I like how you just slid that in there. That was effortless,
quite the segue.
Brother. Just
life is way too short to make all mistakes ourselves. So we want to learn from you. You said you started a bunch of businesses. Mm-hmm. What are some lessons you've learned or some mistakes you made along the way so that we don't have to make those same mistakes?
Great question. Gosh, the pile of mistakes is big. You need to get your hiking gear to climb that pile. But lessons I've learned, it's really important that when you start a business, you think about your exit strategy up front. And I mean, when you're designing your business plan, you need to be designing your exit plan as you're designing your entrance plan. They are the same. So that's a powerful lesson. What else? Who you work with is everything, and it will determine how things go. You can teach skill. You cannot teach character or integrity. So I tend to hire based on personality traits versus actual skill. Not that, skill isn't important, but it's not the most important because, if you're working with someone who is reluctant to learn, who's very closed-minded, you're really stuck. In the beginning, here's another lesson. In the beginning of a company's life, the first people you hire will determine basically everything about the company's success. If you hire people who are very limited in their worldview, they're very small thinkers, they're very afraid and timid, you're basically describing your trajectory. But if you hire people who are aggressive, go-getters, even sometimes people who have way more hubris than they should, but they've got courage for days and they're willing to do stuff, okay, it means you're probably going to move fast and break stuff, but you'll get there. And it's powerful. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't dwell on your mistakes. Take notes instead. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but that's not the point of the show.
So you talked a lot there about building a team and the people around you. Mm-hmm. Let's unpack that a little bit. How much easier or maybe how much harder would you say it is to build a team versus inheriting a team?
There's so many variables attached to each that I really can't say. I think there are some circumstances where one is easier than the other, and other circumstances where the other is easier than the first. I mean,
what's your
previous
preference?
Leadership? I mean, I'd rather build it myself, just because I'm a bit egocentric in that regard. And I know that I'm good at my job and I'm excellent at recruiting. I know how to find really talented people and I know precisely what I'm looking for. And I like things done to my standard. Hello, control freak. I'm aware. But, there are advantages to having someone else do the work for you. I'm also incredibly lazy. For someone who doesn't like to sit still, I'm very lazy. And it's like, oh, thank you for you doing all that work. And now I will sort out this mess because that's less work. I mean, there's pluses and minuses. I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's hard for me to say I have a preference because I don't. I think it's really like, just go with it and make it work. I'm really good at improvising and being handed a pile of whatever that is and sorting it out and turning it into a win. And I think that's one of the top entrepreneurial skills you need to have is getting a tangled ball of God knows what and turning it into something beautiful.
Absolutely.
So with team
brought to you by Laura.
we just talked about teams or building teams or some of the stuff you look for with that, but you're teamed with your husband right now in this new endeavor, Sovereign Ammo. And So did he bring you on board? Did you bring him on board? Did you inherit that? Did he build that? How was that team formed? Not necessarily the proposal and your love, but your business, the business part of it. How did this ammo company come about?
Well, he's the one that wanted to do it. He wanted my support because there's things that I'm really good at in business that he just doesn't have the skills for just yet. He's, it's hard to acquire 20 years of expertise overnight. So he's like, hey, can you support me and give me some support financially, but also like with business stuff, I want to learn from you. Then I started looking at things. I did a viability study, things that he didn't do. He just wanted to do it, which is how I started my first company. So it's okay sometimes not to do it. I looked at the numbers, and I also looked at the state of the world and the country and people of all different political backgrounds wanting to enjoy the sport of shooting or be able to protect their families. Especially a lot of women are new to the shooting sports, and it's exciting. And I thought about it. I'm like, wow, I think this is an excellent opportunity to work with someone I love. Sorry, I touched on the love button. It just had to be done. I wanted to work with him because I love who he is, obviously, or I wouldn't have married him. But also, he and I have extremely complementary skills. I use disc styles as one of my hiring tools. It's not a pass fail. It's like, are you actually suited to this role that you want to be in? Or are you better suited to something else that we need? Just based on who you are as a person. And, my husband is really, really well suited to the operations side of business. I'm well suited to the executive side of business. And I'm like, I'd get to work with you. I'd get to see you more, which is always a plus, but you're actually really well suited to do this thing that you want to do. You're kind of built for it. So if I were going to hire you, I would hire you. And you need someone to do the executive stuff. And I would hire me for that because I know what skills are needed and I have those. So we still need other things. So let's hire those people, but let's do this. It hasn't been an uneventful journey. Working with your spouse has its moments where it's more akin to a volcano exploding. But they make our marriage stronger because we choose powerfully to work through those to enrich our communication skills and just be better as people. But that's another thing that I was looking for, is will this be a compliment to our marriage or a detriment? And because of his character traits and my character traits of lean into the hard stuff, communicate, I was like, all right, I'm willing to take the risk.
Well, you guys have leaned into this new business. It's different than what you've done in the past. And this is this is not just a services oriented business like some of the stuff you've done in the past. This is brick and mortar. This is, you've got merchandise. You're actually making the ammo, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. You're all into this.
Are y'all selling?
It's very different. It's kind of fun though.
Are y'all selling domestically, or are you selling worldwide?
We are not selling worldwide right now. The company is still new. I'm a firm believer in stay in your lane, get good at something before moving on. Mm-hmm. Focus, says the girl with ADHD. So if I'm saying it, pay attention.
So this may be a loaded question, but
loaded. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, pun intended. That in any business, especially one that's mass producing things like ammo, mm-hmm. You're potentially going to have some cost savings if you outsource that production to other countries. Mm-hmm. How do you balance decision making in, I want to keep this in the United States, I want to make sure that this is an American made product, versus the bottom line of, we could send this to this country over here and make significantly more money?
Values. That's it. Our values as a company and who we are very proud to support this particular country. And if I'm outsourcing all my stuff from like Turkey or Serbia or whatever, I'm kind of not living in alignment with my values, and that's out of integrity. So it's a pretty easy thing for me. It's like, well, there's that. Very important. So it's not really a big debate at all. It's just It's an aligned decision. And I think that when you start your company, whatever it is, you need to decide who you are and what you stand for. And for me, as a human, one of my deeply held core values is integrity. Another one is sovereignty, which is freedom and responsibility. It's both. And I don't want to do something that's out of alignment with who I am as a person. So that's my yardstick. But in addition to that, a lot of the branding for the company is in alignment with the integrity and sovereignty message. So the people who buy our ammunition, they know they're getting an American-made product. They know they're going to pay more for it. They also know that it's made better because, unfortunately, a lot of those things that are cheap, you get what you pay for. And if you're happy to have ammo blow up your gun instead of the target, by all means, buy overseas garbage. Call me when you decide to work with something better. And we've had people who wanted to cheap out. Oh, where can we get some cheap ammo? Here you go. And then they buy the cheap ammo. Their firearms get blown up and destroyed. Then they have to pay hundreds of dollars to get them fixed because they were inferior quality. And then we end up getting customers for life. It's like, no, I never have problems with your ammo. Correct. So now you're a customer for life, aren't you?
So a lot of us have watched maybe Shark Tank, or we've watched, the Profit, or we've seen where they talk about, having co-packers. They talk about making this factory, or we've got to get this investment because we're not making our cookies in our kitchen anymore. We're going to make them in this big factory. Talk a little bit about the process of getting your own machinery and making ammo, or, this is different than some of the stuff that you've done in the past. How did all this come about with getting the right equipment, figuring out all that kind of stuff as you go?
That's all my husband. He's the operations side of things. So when he was doing the research and basically learning an entirely new field, we need this. Okay. We need that. Okay. And I was the original financier of the company. And I chose to make the investments based on his recommendations. So he learned how to use them, got some support from the company and the machinery makers, and had a few moments where he was ripping out what's left of his hair, but he learned. And now he knows how to make ammo like a boss and better than most.
Was there ever a time when he was doing it in your spare bedroom, or in a spare room, or out in the garage?
No, he was, he did make some stuff for us. And it's actually really important, and it's interesting. You can definitely tell who's never made hand-loaded ammunition, not necessarily reloads, but like there's a certain feel that you just understand, and you understand things down to the micron when you make things by hand and then you fire your own. If you make the entire product and then you demo it yourself, you understand what perfection is. And you understand intimately what the standard should be versus following a machine. The machines are supposed to be servants for us. We're not supposed to be servants of the machines. And when you make things by hand, it teaches you to be in charge of the machine correctly. So as we've introduced automation, it's something where we have that innate understanding of what the standard should be because we've lived it in the most intimate way. Even I've handmade ammo, so I know more about ammo production than, I wouldn't say all, but definitely a lot of makers.
Well, I can kind of relate, and probably some of our audience can relate to, when you're in middle school and you make that just perfect spitball that goes in the straw, and it's just that spitball ammunition for the straw. Nothing better.
It's tough to describe, right? There's a certain nuance to the technique, to that spitball creation that you just really got to get right. And it's just tough to put into words. It's like describing what it's like to visit Saturn. You either know or you don't.
That's right. And when you can put it on that kid's back, in front of you in
with
class,
precision,
and they don't even know it, and they don't even know it, and then they go to lunch. That's terrible. That's terrible. No, hypothetically speaking.
No, it's good.
I've just read about that stuff.
Hypothetical knowledge. That's cool.
That's right. So you mentioned a couple of times value. You've mentioned freedom. You've mentioned sovereignty. Mm-hmm. What does sovereign ammo? What does that mean to you in your life? And why did you name it sovereign ammo?
Sovereign is a word that I think people don't understand. and they think that it means like the Queen of England or now the King of England. It's like, no, the sovereign is the Lord. So there's that. But also in terms of being sovereign, it is not about a selfish freedom where you just do whatever the hell you want and to hell with other people. It's not what it's about. And I think that during the pandemic, a lot of people came to hear that word and get a bit of a negative reaction to the word sovereign or sovereignty. And I'm like, you know what? Everything I know about the spiritual realm, my spiritual life, my emotional life, my financial life, everything, it's all about being free and responsible. And as an entrepreneur, a lifelong entrepreneur, like I understand sovereignty. If I don't work, I don't get paid. If I don't provide for my family, then the state isn't going to do it. They just don't eat. And it's like, that level of independence and autonomy, it carries a tremendous weight of responsibility. And to me, the word sovereign is a goal that all of us should have. We are far too dependent on infrastructure and food that other people are brought to us. We're not supporting local farms. We're not supporting local businesses. We're not supporting local economies, and we should be. And so sovereign is really, the name of it is rooted in this idea of stewardship of yourself, your family, your community, everything. And this is a gift and responsibility bestowed to us by our Creator, not permission granted by our government. This is not to mean that I don't believe in laws. I do. Or I don't believe in government. I do. I think we need a government. I don't think we need a tyrannical government, but I think that things have their place and we need to be responsible, and largely people abdicate their responsibility. And I think that's one of the things about the Second Amendment space that pisses me off so much is people make this assumption that people who own guns are irresponsible for owning a firearm. And it's like, you could not be further from the truth. People who lawfully own firearms are some of the most responsible people you've ever met. They have gun safes, they take courses, they practice regularly, they store their ammunition safely, they keep things away from their children, they teach their children gun safety, they make sure that their children are mentally healthy, loved, well cared for. And I got to tell you, a lot of these people that we sell to are God-loving, church-going, hardworking, salt-of-the-earth people who want nothing more for the world than peace and prosperity. So the name sovereign is a re-education.
What's interesting what you said there, because until I took a weapons course or a gun course, and I learned so much in that course. Like there's so many things now when I'll watch a TV show or a movie and I'll see people handle a gun and I'll be like, they haven't been trained, like they're doing it wrong, or they're showing the world a bad example of how to handle a gun. And so, but I wouldn't have thought of that until I took a course.
And it's so easy to hate something you don't understand, or to I guess trivialize something, and you just see guns in movies and TV and it's just like, oh, it's nothing. No, it's not nothing. It is an important device that can keep your family alive. You can hunt for your food. You can protect yourself if someone invades your home. Like you can defend yourself. Ladies, you can take this out in your person. If someone wants to stalk you and abduct you, you can stop them. Like it's important that people have these tools and not demonize them, not glorify them, not misunderstand them. But actually, I think everybody should take a gun safety course and actually go to the range, because it's a lot of fun. The first time you actually hit a target, it's like, woo! Like people are so quick to hate things they don't understand. And I would love to encourage more people to learn about the safety, the sovereignty, the duty to protect your family. It's even outlined in the Bible. You have a duty to protect your family. It's in Nehemiah. Look it up. It's powerful stuff. And I think that our fear creates prejudice in so many different areas of life. And I am here to help people. And I've had so many people be like, how can you say that you love God? And how could you say that you're trying to help people when you do this? I'm like, if you're not willing to understand and your mind is closed, then I can't fix that for you. I can't listen for you. I can only provide the information to you. You're the one who has to open your ears and your mind.
Sorry, our power went off, so I dropped off for a second. I had to rejoin on my phone, and then of course as soon as I did, the power came back on.
Yeah, I was going to say, you are illuminated, sir.
Yes. It's almost like a halo. So a little bit ago, you were talking about your values and how they have to be in alignment with the function of the company. Let's go into that world just a little bit. How important would you say it is, and where does it kind of tie into the process? You're starting a business. How important would you say it is to have a mission and vision statement for your business, and where does that fall into the process of creation?
Well, as a person who's started many and helped hundreds of people start their companies, what I would say to you is, with the healthy dose of salt, that you should take this with, I think mission statements and value statements are kind of BS. What is more important is knowing your why. If you don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who you're doing it for, don't start. Like, you need to have such powerful conviction. If you have a mission statement and a value statement, that's great. But like, if you don't have the passion where you could endlessly just spit those out on the fly, and improvise, even if it's never written down, you don't have a business, you have a job that you own, and those suck. Like, if you're going to start a business that doesn't own you, you actually own it, you should be deeply inspired. Do you ever see that TED Talk from Simon Sinek? It's not what you do, it's why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, I wrote my book because I wanted to share powerfully this beautiful message of love and possibility with other people. Like, I was doing it for other people. I was doing it for the message itself. I was doing it for the joy of humanity and loving others, right? And that's the what, the who, the why, it's all of it. Now with the ammunition, it's like, I know what we're creating. And I'm creating a business that is serving people and helping people to live a more sovereign life through not just ammunition, because let's be honest, it's a commodity, okay? But it's through a set of values and creating of a community and a movement that is all about kindness, love, safety, responsibility, and people want to be a part of that. I'm doing this for those people. I am these people. I'm doing it for my sisters and brothers who feel the way I do and have felt voiceless. So I know who I'm doing it for. I know what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it. And like, I don't even have a value or a mission statement, but if you ask me to write it down, I could easily come up with something. I remember ages ago when I started my first company. Here's the truth for you. I didn't have a mission or a value statement, and I struggled to come up with one because I never had a powerful why. My why was because I need food. Okay. I didn't start my marketing company because I was so deeply passionate. I became passionate in time, like it took me 5 or 6 years to develop my passion, and my why showed up eventually. It's like, oh, shoot. Well, I'm actually serving entrepreneurs, and I'm helping this mother and father put their kid through college. And instead of, helping some dude buy his 4th yacht, I'm helping a real person provide for his family. This is awesome. Or live out a dream. And that became my why. And then it gave rich texture. And incidentally, that is when I started succeeding, and not before.
Awesome.
Well, so you are go ahead, Ruston.
You're good. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ruston.
So to follow
go ahead.
Yeah, to follow up on that. So I'm curious. We had somebody a couple of months ago who made the statement that for every 10 ideas he comes up with, maybe 1 gets executed. And he's constantly brainstorming ideas, constantly thinking about what his next thing is going to be. Is that ever part of your thought process? Are you ever kind of thinking through what's next, or are you fully in what you're doing right now?
I'm doing both. I'm extremely present with what I'm doing when I'm doing it, and I'm very focused on it. But I have ideas every day of my life. So I have a huge folder on my network drive. I call it my idea graveyard, or the idea parking lot, depending on the day. And I'll take my brilliant ideas. Oh my God, this is the next Google. Holy crap. Write it out. Here's my business idea. Bam. Stick it in the idea parking lot. Might go to the graveyard, might not. Parking lot is maybe I'll resurrect it. Graveyard is like, goodbye, kind soul. It was fun dallying with you for a day. But like, it's important that you don't respond to your impulsivity and just go with every shiny thing that pops into your head. I mean, I said to you that I have ADHD, and one of the things that you encounter when you have this is tons of impulses, and you have to learn impulse control. And the idea of parking lot is an extremely important tool for me. And it sounds like your other guest for being like, cool idea, bro. Not now. And it's like, when I do exit from the ammo company, and I will someday, either by God's hand or my own, I'm definitely going to exit this. It's, what's next? Am I dead? Or is there another business I can do? Like, I like doing business, and I like starting companies, and I like supporting other people, and I like doing social initiatives. I like serving humanity in a variety of different ways, not just the obvious, like bleeding heart sitting there with a cup collecting coins. I like to do different things. Sometimes empowering people is really important. Reminding people of things is important. There's a theme to my life, which is sovereignty. My first company, marketing company, all about financial and time sovereignty. My second company, which is the book and education and coaching, it's all about emotional and spiritual sovereignty and truly being free, especially from a lot of like trauma and childhood programming that we received without our consent. And now this company is all about constitutional sovereignty. And if I can think of like a fourth expression of that really tickles me in the soul, then I'll probably do that next.
So what percentage of the ideas that you have that you put in that parking lot would you say you actually execute?
Less than one. I mean, I've had some humdingers. Sometimes it's just like, it's a lot of work. That's a good idea, but somebody else can execute it. Like, I mean, if someone who was really ambitious and just bored and really wanted to do something epic with their life, if they wanted to go floating through my idea parking lot and looking for the next big idea, here you go. Ideas are my thing. Like, creating is my thing. It's very easy for me to create. It's actually very difficult for me to not create, which is why I created the idea parking lot. So that way I could express it and get it out and not go crazy and constantly be like tormented by a sea of shiny things that threaten to distract me from my mission. So I still have the ideas and I have an outlet for them. So, it's kind of like if you've got lots and lots of anger, you should have some way to get it out of your system. It could be punching a punching bag, screaming, or going for a run, or doing some artistic something that is sitting inside of you and tormenting you, good or bad, should probably not stay there and torment you when you need to focus.
Or go to the gun range and use sovereign ammo.
Good plug, dude. Yes. Pew pew. My husband put that on LinkedIn for his pronouns. Pew pew. I was like, this is genius. I like that.
So LinkedIn, you are very active on LinkedIn. A lot of our audience is on LinkedIn as well. What are some tips or advice that you would have for people on LinkedIn?
In what respect?
In what respect? And it's an open-ended question. As a host, I was giving you a softball just to go off on anything about LinkedIn that you wanted. But any tips,
what would you like
advice?
to know?
What would I like to know?
Yeah.
Well, I think most people would like to know, first of all, like what I said, you have a lot of engagement on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get that engagement, and why is that something that you chose to do? Because you're not on Twitter, you're not a twit, you chose LinkedIn, and that's an area that you're not a twit anymore. But how have you gotten the engagement? Why did you choose to go the LinkedIn route even to begin with?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I decided to start going with LinkedIn because I was actually initially looking to hire for the ammo company. And then right around the same time, I just got really inspired to start speaking bluntly about my thoughts and feelings, which certainly do not appeal to a broad audience, but they definitely appeal to my audience. I have a lot of opinions that the far left would probably scream at, and that's fine. But also some folks on the far right, because I don't believe in extreme anything. I believe in a moderate, measured, nuanced approach to most things. And most people can't handle that nowadays, but that's what makes my content interesting. But the algorithm is something that I was able to understand it is something that I feel just really aligns. I've noticed that LinkedIn is a platform where you can have more intellectual conversations at length. And that's something that I really deeply enjoy. So, the advice I've always given people as a marketer is do one thing and do it really well. And then, when you feel as though you've mastered that and you can keep up with it, then add something else. And, I'm still a believer of that. I definitely live in that truth. In terms of engagement, I'm honest. I don't talk at people. I talk with people. And I think there's a lot of people who like to just preach and tell people how to live or whatever. But, any good marketer will tell you, like, when you're out there trying to build engagement, you're really speaking to one person. You're not speaking to 15,000 or whatever. You're speaking to one person. So write a love letter to one person, help one person, serve one person. And when you do it in a sincere way and you get engagement, part of the thing that helps you to get engagement is actually engaging back. If someone takes time out of their life and their day to engage with you, comment back and respond, and not just thanks, or just liking it. That annoys me when I see people do that. Like, they're just hitting like on comments or not even acknowledging them at all. And then they're confused about why their engagement sucks. It's like, well, it sucks because you suck. You're not actually acknowledging people. Like, if I said something to your face, I would expect you to acknowledge me, and you would, because that's appropriate. But now, because there's a computer screen between us, you fail to acknowledge me. No, it's rude then and it's rude now. So if people live their manners, then they're in good shape.
I'm giving you a thumbs up.
That's cool.
Great stuff. Great stuff,
Man,
Laura.
I appreciate the validation. You see me, bro. So I think people need to do more to acknowledge and actually meaningfully engage with people, and don't just come up with drivel. Like, here's the thing. You don't actually have to post every day. I post when I have something interesting to say, which is often every day, but it's not religiously every day. There are days where I'm just like, I can't stand the internet. Goodbye. And I just leave for a couple days. And then there's other days where I'll post 3 or 4 things. But for me, it's about creating a community of friends who share ideas and have fun conversations with me, even if we don't agree. I quickly block people who are even 1% disrespectful. I have no time for that. I don't argue with idiots. There's no room in my life for bridge trolls. Like, go troll somebody else's crap. I just have no tolerance for that. Also, way too much self-respect to even engage or dignify it with a response. So, there's a lot of things to do, but be real, and honestly, quit being so friggin' vanilla. Like, most people are so afraid to actually have an opinion on something. I mean, Jamy, not to call you out, but you're like, oh, I'm not, terribly political or opinionated on social media. You'd probably get more engagement if you were, and you'd piss more people off if you were. But that's the price you pay. I am not trying to appeal to everybody. In fact, I'm happy about it when someone's pissed off, because it means I'm doing something right. Because it means for every one person who's pissed off about what I said, there's 100 behind him who are like, no, I love that. That's amazing. Because especially with a lot of my views about how things ought to be, which I told you is more of a nuanced, balanced, non-extreme way to do things with most things. Turns out that's how most people think. They just feel so silenced and suppressed. I can't say that because my employer won't like it. Oh, I can't say that because, and I can't say that because. Well then, how does it feel having a gag in your mouth? You like it? No? Well, then use your mouth. Like, people need to speak. They need to be heard. And half the reason why people are engaging with my stuff is because I am saying what they are aching to say, but are too afraid to say. And that sucks. My whole goal with my social media, by the way, is service. It's not so I can get a ton of likes and followers. I care, but I don't. What I care about more than anything else is empowering other people to use their voice. And I will gladly stand in front of the whole damn crowd, and I will take all of the arrows in my chest until they're ready to do it on their own. Because at the end of the day, good. I'm glad you hate me. It means your idea sucks, because I'm not extreme. I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person, and I know I'm doing something good. And if you don't like it, that means you're my enemy. Go away. And my friends are all here, and they don't like you either. but we like each other because we're nice to each other. We share ideas, and I give them empowerment, and I give them voice, and I give them encouragement. I give them hope, information, truth, wisdom, leadership. That's awesome. It's all about giving. It's not about the taking. Like when I tell you I don't care about the engagement, I mean, it's kind of true and it's kind of not. Like where I care is this landing with the people I care about? Do they like this? Is it really touching them? Is it serving them? Whatever. Where I don't care is the numbers. Like, oh no, this is 3% less effective than my last post. I don't care. Truth doesn't stop being truth just because numbers don't necessarily be responsive to it.
Well, speaking of the ideas that you talk about, you like ideas, and speaking of giving, because you like to give, I think there's a way that you can combine those two. I think on social media, maybe you could take that idea parking lot and you can have a giveaway on social media, and you could have one of those wheels or something, and you pick somebody each time, and then it's almost like a grab bag of ideas, and you're giving one of those ideas away.
I would, but here's the truth for you, and you're not going to like it because it's a bit of a bummer. Sorry. Most people won't do anything with it, and they don't know how because they don't have the faith in themselves to take action on a killer idea.
That's true.
So that's a big part of what I do with my book is I help people to realize you have infinite wisdom. You have infinite talent. Wake up to your greatness. Stop being a bump on a log. Love yourself. Lean in. Live your life, right? So then when I tell you, be sovereign, you've got the stones to do it. Because you know you deserve it. You know it came from God, and God's not an idiot. God put you here, not because you're a loser, but because you're his child, and he wants to see you thrive. And if you don't, that's an absolutely affront to the good Lord. So you better get your buns in gear.
That's a big reason why I ask a lot of the questions that I ask, because I think especially when you're talking about entrepreneurs, what you just said is extremely true. They just don't have the confidence to take the next step and think systematically and think in a process-driven way and really understand what their why is and really attack whatever it is that they think they want to do, because there's just something that's always holding them back, and it's typically themselves.
Oh, it is. And more specifically, and so I do coaching as well. So that is one of the things. So I don't have kids, so I have time to do these things. But I do coaching, and I work with predominantly, actually, all I work with is entrepreneurs now that I think about it. And the number one problem that plagues them every single day is lack of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is your ability to unconditionally love yourself. Oh, you screwed up? Cool. I love me anyway. Like, oh, I'm 10 pounds overweight. So what? I love me anyway. And not saying terrible stuff when you look in the mirror, or I want to go start that business. Oh, I can't do it. Nope. That's not loving yourself unconditionally. It's like, you know what? Swing for the fences. You got this. Even if you mess it up, you're going to learn stuff. Go for it. That's unconditional self-love. And people don't know how to do that. And there's a big part of my work where it is helping people to overcome this self-loathing and self-judgment that causes people to hesitate, not take great ideas, not enact on their own great ideas. Like my idea parking lot is only useful to me. And honestly, everybody else's idea parking lot, it's barely useful to them because they don't have the self-love. Self-love is the origin of courage. It is the origin of strength. It is the origin of creativity. It is, the origin of being a provider. If you don't love yourself, you can't provide, you can't create, you can't innovate, you can't start things, you can't change yourself, you can't change the world. Everything begins with self-love, and self-love doesn't need to be, oh, look at me, I'm so amazing. That's actually not self-love, that's ego, and it's a cover for not loving yourself. Real self-love is quiet, it is tranquil, it is remarkable in its strength and impenetrability. It is something where it gives you the ability to hold your ground when someone mistreats you, to start something that terrifies the crap out of you, but you have that belief that you can, and even if you don't, it's okay. You know what I mean? So the clients that I work with in my coaching, one-on-one, we're unpacking things like why you have a resentment towards people who are actually healthy and happy. Why do you passively resent these people? No, I don't resent them. Yes, you do. You hold judgment against people who are genuinely confident because at some point in your childhood, mom, dad, Auntie Sue, or Uncle Bob passed judgment on those people out of jealousy and insecurity, and subconsciously, little child version of you onboarded that as, if I conduct myself in a confident, secure way, I will lose this person's love, and I love that person. And as a child, the most destructive thing you can do to a child is withhold love. This is a decision and a choice that we were programmed into when we were children. When we received this, we did not update it as we grew older, and we're like, I want to be confident. No. We still talk to mom and dad when we're in our 40s and thinking, well, I can't be too cocky. I can't be too confident. I can't be too wealthy. I can't be any of these awesome things I want to be, because if I am, then I will lose the love that inner child me craves. And if I lose that, I can't function. So I'm going to achieve only just so much, up to the limit of where I think I can still get love from those I need it from. Until, of course, you change and you start insourcing instead of outsourcing your self-love. When you learn to be the eternal, unlimited spring of love and eternal life for yourself, you don't need mom's approval, because you know that you're pretty awesome without it. You get good at pissing people off. And it's like, I'm sorry you're disappointed in my choice, but you get to be disappointed and I get to still do it. And you'll stop passing judgment on people who are the thing you aspire to be, but are secretly terrified of being. You have to start with the childhood stuff. I mean, how Freudian, right? Like, I have daddy issues. Guess what? Spoiler, we all have daddy issues. Like, you have to unpack that. Then you can actually start to construct the powerful adult version of you that insources all his or her self-love. And then you can start the business, be an incredible leader, put shit in the idea parking lot, have a bold business that changes lives, and move mountains.
Well, if you want more of Laura, you definitely want to get her book, The Six Habits, the6habits.com. She also has a great TED talk. It's one of the best ever, only because she's in Hawaii and the beach and the palm trees are in the background. So it's not the typical TEDx talk where they're in this dark auditorium and they're on this little circle. Like, she's on a circle.
It's a very little one.
It's a very little one, but it's
they
like a carpet.
Me a circle.
Yeah, she's still on a circle, but it's a circle in Hawaii, which Hawaii just makes everything better. Or where you're at now in Florida. Florida makes everything a little bit better. It's amazing what palm trees will do.
Yeah, palm trees make everything better.
But Ruston, any great takeaways? Anything that you're coming away from this stuff that you liked?
Probably just what Laura was just finishing up saying just then. You know, we have such a wide range of people that listen to this, and they're in so many different industries. But at its core, you know, we are typically what holds us back from taking the next step, and it's usually because of some insecurity or some doubt that we have in ourselves. So I thought what she was just saying about where we decide or how we decide we're going to move forward with things and where that confidence comes from was extremely valuable.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to share it.
Laura,
I hope it can honestly inspire people to examine their beliefs, where they came from, and to start to unpack them, because we were all programmed without our consent when we were kids to be whatever the insecurities, fears, and beliefs were of the people around us. And this is how we shaped our own warped version of what morality was and what was okay and what wasn't.
Yeah.
So imagine what would happen if we have the intelligence that we have now and the ability to powerfully choose now. Oh, wait, we do.
Well, she's Laura DiBenedetto, and you're watching the Talent and Strategy Show here on the Success is a Choice Podcast Network. We appreciate everybody watching this live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. Maybe you're checking it out a little bit later. That's fine. We appreciate that as well. You're maybe listening to this in your car, on the treadmill, wherever you are on the Success is a Choice Podcast Network. Thank you so much. If you would kindly smash that like button, or just tap it. Don't smash it. Don't break your iPhone, but kindly smash, tap, whatever you do, to the like button, the thumbs up button, the subscribe button. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody that's done that as well. And until next time, we will be right back here next Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we appreciate all of you and your support. And until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?